We are lighting the candle, a world that works. Hello, everyone. I am Bill Correll. I'm here with my wonderful partner in empowerment, Jan Jeremias. We're here also with a mutual friend who is also a contributing author on a book that Jan just completed with four other people. Taryn Victor. She is hailing from somewhere in South Africa, I think, today. And I'm going out on a limb there because you could be anywhere in the world, actually. How are you, Taryn?
Yeah. I'm well, thank you. And I'm sending you lots of love and big hugs all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Beautiful. I love it. So, what we've been doing over the last few weeks, kind of update our folks at home and maybe a little bit of bringing you up to speed as well, Taryn. We've interviewed a couple of your co-authors, lovely conversations with two brilliant men. One was one of your compatriots from South Africa, and the other's a beautiful man from Ireland. And I think the conversations that we had were not only demonstrative of the work that they had done and put into their chapters, but I think it also did a great service in terms of getting the message out to other people in the layman's English, the King's English, understandably communicated, so that anyone can pick it up and read the book and get the full flavor of what the possibilities are.
Yeah. That's what I absolutely love about this book that we've put together is that we've all supported it how we all write, the different styles of writing and all of that. We've kept it, allowed each other to just be unique. And that's what brought it together so beautifully, because at the end of the day, it just worked in harmony so beautifully.
I think that's kind of like the master plan, isn't it? Show up, be authentic, see what happens. Usually it turns out pretty well for everyone involved.
It works to the T. We were so surprised at the common threads that our stories had and how it all just effortlessly came together. It all just, Jan, I'm sure you will agree here, is that it just worked. Everything flowed beautifully. And that's how we knew that it was right what we were doing.
And I think that that's why the whole process itself was so beautiful. It wasn't only the writing, like our relationships, how much they grew based on reading each other's stories and how we got to know people in that realm. And we knew, we knew everybody anyway, to let's say how much we know each other for a few years online and meeting and sharing or whatever, but the stories kind of opened up a different part of every person that I think contributed. I think we got almost like this snapshot picture into their life, which a good story will do. And that was another thing that just sort of beautifully evolved. It wasn't only the book itself, it was our community of people, our simply live simply family just became so much more close knit because of it.
So I do have a question though. What's kind of interesting, the book that we're talking about is called Simply Becoming. It is available on Apple, and I think you can probably get it in a Kindle version. Um, but I do, excuse me,
Awesome.
on Amazon. Yes, Simply Becoming.
Amazon,
So here's
yeah.
my question to you. Is that a title that you intended from the beginning, or is this something that showed up after you shared each other's chapters?
And the simply part was we never chose the title yet. We just knew that our journeys of what simply, what simply means, and as we just let it. This is where the common threads that were mentioned came in. Is that there was this common thread of becoming, that how each of our stories, one way or another, is a story of how we became to where we are today. And that's how we were like simply becoming, because the thing that brought us together, like Jan said, simply live simply, is just, what does simply live simply mean to you? And we wanted this book to be as simple and unique, as beautiful as possible, and for the process, and the process was that. And so simply becoming, and it worked. We were all like, yeah, that's it. So it was the writing the stories first, reading our stories, and then the title came afterwards. We didn't have the title from the beginning. We decided we're going to write this book, write our stories, and then the title came.
Interesting. So, what would you say is the overriding theme to what you wrote, Taryn?
So, my chapter is titled "The Art of Becoming," and the overriding theme is becoming, because I literally share my story from the beginning. I share from my childhood certain events that shaped me. And
Right.
I am right now in the process of becoming. So I think that's the beauty of, that's why I call it the art of becoming, because I'm a creative, I'm artistic, I work in the arts and entertainment, I'm a content creator. So the art of becoming. So for me, becoming is a very central theme, because it's how I became the woman that I am today and still becoming.
It's interesting. So I'm sure you shared some particular events. I know that your story is quite interesting, having interviewed you twice before. But I do also want to, give you an opportunity here to maybe tease out, a little bit more depth what your message is in the simply becoming, because you've been leading a simple life for quite a long time, along with many other people that Jan associates with, who I've been very privileged to spend time with, including Wendy and others. But what's interesting to me is I think living simply means something different to somebody who's adopted it as a practice for life than somebody who hasn't. And if that's the case, how would you describe it to someone who doesn't have a common definition of the language that y'all use?
So I think with the word simply, it isn't really if you read, when you read our stories, it wasn't really simple. Our lives weren't really simple. There were events that were intertwined and all of that, but it was the simple nuggets and the simple ways of acceptance, or the simple ways of accepting and allowance, the simplicity of the process.
Yeah.
That's actually what the heart of our stories are, is to share our stories into embracing the simple things, the simple joys in life, the simple process, allowing the process to flow. I think that's what the readers are going to take away.
Interesting. I do know that there's a very interesting branch of religion, the Mennonites and the Amish, who are really dedicated to having very simple lives, which means those things that God has given them to create with, they can do so. So they can have oil lamps, they can have wood fires, those sort of things. They build things with their hands. They become, consummate craftsmen and craftspersons, building everything from coaches to furniture to you name it. And it's a kind of a diminishing returns type of a religion, because a lot of the folks that are coming up through this generation are walking away from the simple life, and they're getting entangled in what's a lot more complicated. And it seems to me, in looking at what you all have written in terms of the underlying art to it, if you will, that by stripping things down and really being able to process your life differently than when it was coming at you full bore and really nothing to do but react, it seems like there's this opportunity to kind of recreate yourself as somebody who has a position in time and space that's out to actually accomplish something, as opposed to just being buffeted around by events.
That is so true. You touch on it very beautifully. So the subtitle to our book is Stories of Strength and Acceptance. And I think where we complicate in life is one of the topics that we touch on is fitting in, where there is comparison, where there is society defining who we are. And that's when in our stories you'll see that we start, there's something within. There is something within. There is that inner voice that says, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. So it's that trusting that inner voice, listening to your inner voice. And of course, that's a journey. And that's when the simplicity and the flow comes, because you're honoring your authentic, that word is coming across a lot today, authentic self. And that's where it starts flowing and becoming more simple, because we complicate when we compare ourselves to other, when we try to fit in spaces where we don't belong. And that is when it gets challenging and not simple.
Yeah. It seems to me like there is a litmus test, authenticity is not something that's demonstrable. It's a state of being in which your attention is so focused on what's going on in this moment. There's no time for you to be concerned about your own welfare or remember things from the past that are dragging you down, which is where most people spend most of their days anyway, is either worrying about something that happened in the past or worrying about something that may happen in the future. While this beautiful, wonderful world, I don't know what your weather is like over there in South Africa at the moment, but here in Connecticut, we are in the middle of some really gorgeous weather, and we got just enough rain to really kind of perk everything up over the weekend, and it's fantastic. So, are you all heading into spring and summer over there? I think you're in an opposite half of the world than we are. You're almost subtropical there too, right?
We are spring right now, and we've just started having, that's why you see me a little bit dressed up a bit warm today, because we've started having our spring rains. So our spring rains have come. So the grass, we're looking forward to the green grass and the flowers blooming even brighter. So yeah, there being nature is one of the simplistic things that I enjoy. Cannot wait. I thrive in spring, summer. It's my favorite time of the year.
Yes. And here we are heading into fall, and I am definitely not going to place myself among the people who love snow in winter. It's just not happening. Okay. When I was in my 20s, yes, my wife and I both liked skiing and that sort of thing. But anymore, it's a little bit more like Joni Mitchell's Clouds song. It just gets in the way. However, having said that, I can now maybe step back a little bit and see if there is any redeeming quality about having it be 5 degrees below zero.
Oh, wow. No, I can't do, I'm not a fan of winter. Winter, autumn, the cold, I'm not a fan. Bring me sunshine and bring some rain, and then the rain goes. Yeah, don't bring me winter. I can't do it.
Amen, sister, tell it. Yeah. Well, I think the most amazing part of everything that we're talking about is folks who have actually accessed something that's a little unusual and then shared it with each other in a powerful way and found out, well, maybe it's a little more usual than we thought, at least among us folks. Not good grammar, but it does communicate. But the point of all of this is, maybe we do have an interesting story, not in what happened, but how it left us.
Mm.
And what would you say is like the biggest difference that you can point to, Taryn, having been in that non-simple lifestyle most of your life, and then making a choice to kind of like see what it's all about, and then adopt it as a practice? Um, I'm thinking about Wendy, who will not travel with anything more than one case, and it has to be less than however many pounds that she sets on it, and she manages to live off of that, wherever she is, all over the world. And how does it show up for you in your life, Taryn?
For me, when I was living not so simple, when I was trying to conform to the world and all of that, I didn't realize what came from all of that was realizing my worth. So now it's about letting go and saying no without feeling bad. It's about being like, is that really aligned to me? No, that's not for me. That opportunity is not for me. And saying no without feeling guilty. That has made things more simple for me, because as I mentioned to Jan and everyone else, writing this chapter was a form of healing for me at the end. And it was about it is okay to say no. It's okay to let go and create space for new and to be my authentic self, to attract my tribe, to attract my people. So that really is the difference that it's made, is about being simply saying no. It's like Mahiba's favorite. I can't wait for the listeners to experience Mahiba. It's just, so what? Let it go. If something doesn't work, let it go. That simplicity of just making decisions that are right for me. That's what's made the big difference.
It's huge. I think for one, I don't think most people feel that they have either the right or the privilege to say no. We live in a society that rewards people for overcommitting over and over and over again. And when it comes to stretching between different uh, types of community, family, church, folks at work, folks down the street, um, it's so easy to be in the habit of saying yes, where most people tend to fail to keep their commitments anymore and walk around really feeling quite miserable about who they're letting down. And by that time, most of those people have forgotten the promise. They're not carrying that any longer. It's the person who who said yes when they really should have said no. Had they known how to do that? How did you learn how to do that?
Experience, by going through I wish I trust that little gut feeling that said, nope, this is not for you, or no, you shouldn't have gone ahead of it. It was that experience of going through those things that I should have said no to because I wanted to fit in. I was afraid of losing that person or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I had to go through those lessons to understand what it would look like, and be like, I don't want more. I don't want that. I don't want that. I had to go through it in order to understand I don't want that in my life.
Mm-hmm. So if I understand you, the simplifying has a lot more to do with choosing the conversations you're going to continue in than how much stuff you've got. And I'm remembering now, Wendy has a number of items that she can carry. It's not a number of pounds, which is fascinating. I haven't talked to her personally in more than 9 months, but that's what I remember, along with her beautiful smile.
Oh, that's amazing. I prefer experiences over things because things can diminish in value or they don't have a value, but experiences are where lessons are learned and memories are made. So I always prefer experiences.
Jen, I'm real interested in how does this show up for you, in your life? You're such a generous steward of this conversation, but I'm the learner here. Both of you have experience. You've expressed your language out of the feeling that you have inside that's coming out of you. I'm very intrigued and interested. Let's put it that way.
I think I look at it, somewhat. I mean, I've looked at Simply Live, Live Simply differently than Taryn did. But as she's speaking, what comes to mind and in my ability to say no is something that actually Seamus, who was on last week, shared with me. And that was every time you say no to someone else, you're saying yes to yourself. And I think about that a lot of like it's more, that reflection on what do I want? What do I value? Like what's important, what matters to me? And then not looking at it as so much as a no as what's a yes for me and kind of reversing it because I try to frame it more in the positive because I tend, I need that. And so it's better off for me if I examine it as like, okay, what feels like a yes? And so, that just resonates with me deeply. And then I love what Taryn shared on authenticity because I think that that's where that comes from. Whether it be no to that, yes to this, is it comes from learning about yourself, which every experience happens, and that's what it reveals to you, something about yourself. And or it reminds you or helps you remember something about yourself, because I think we know it. I think we just forget that we who we are. So those experiences and those memories remind us um, of different qualities we have, different strengths, different what you might want to label as, I don't like to call them weaknesses, but our tendencies or things we might consider harder for us to kind of wrap our heads around, and navigating life from those places versus superficially. Like, to me, the outside world or external stuff complicates things to a great extent.
Mm. I'm letting that land for a moment. That was a note to our producer, so he doesn't take this pause and do something horrible with it.
If I can add to what Jan just said, I
Yeah.
think intuitively we already know what we're supposed to do. But because there's so much comparisons with society, or depending on who you surround yourself with, we question it. We're all different here. We none of us are the same. We are all different and unique. And I think it's when we start questioning, trying to fit in, which is a big theme in our book, that's when it starts getting complicated, where simply just being you and accepting who you are, it's so simple, it's easy. Whereas trying to be someone that you're not, that's where the hard work comes in, and you're going against everything that's not aligned with your morals and values and stuff like that.
And I think that when Taryn earlier, she was talking about that she's still becoming. And I think that, and that's based on what you just shared, because I think there are certain values that are our values. Like, those are things, like I have values which haven't changed since I was 5. Like, I have a value I identified recently, which I did when I was 5, and that has not changed. But then there are other values I think that change depending on our stage of life. And I think that that's what some of what we saw also in the book was things that we valued or things that we thought were important, which were a lot of external things, the degrees, the jobs, the other people's opinion. When we were younger, all of a sudden, like, Taryn's younger than I am, but there's this wisdom that does come with age, where you realize that that's not really what's valuable. And so I think that the becoming happens as we get older, to always, as we are always becoming, because we change throughout our lives. And so those values change.
Yeah, you said it so well.
It's very interesting. I was listening to a podcast earlier today by a gentleman who I enjoy listening to, and he was really talking about how the passage of time for men, in particular, when they hit the age of 60, and they start taking stock of the fact that a lot more of their life has happened in the past than they will have left, to live in the future. So along with that comes this uncertainty about which things are worth spending any time on, and is this really stealing my present from me when I really could be doing something that I absolutely love, and is it taking the place of having just plain peace available to me? And along the way, um, the conversation is also giving reference to who you became when you needed to as a father, when you had small children, and then when those kids were in, junior high school, and then when they were getting off on their own, starting their own families and everything. And now all of a sudden, it all seems to be running itself without any need for input or creativity on your part. So there's also a loss there. There's something that's missing. And that if we aren't careful, we can become a little I don't know, I think the word, we can become sad. We can, start becoming resigned. We can start living a life that's not filled with passion anymore, a life that no longer brings joy and self-expression, but it's enduring another day, you know. And what I like is whatever age you get that message, whether it's in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or are you, if you're still struggling with the question when you're in your 70s, it's worthwhile to decide what in your life is important and what is just going to happen anyway. So why not be a champion for what you want, and a champion for your own self health and your own peace and personal power.
Absolutely. And you'll also see that your energy will flow even more because you'll have more energy to do what is meant for you, whereas trying to make something work that's not meant for you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another interesting aspect to that as well, in terms of, more or less taking stock of the boundaries of where your life goes, financially, friendship wise, um, just a matter of how much stuff a lifetime can accumulate, stuff that you don't use anymore, or I don't use anymore. I'll speak for me personally. And I'm constantly tripping over these things. And, I don't know how it is for you, but objects have their own energy of from times gone by. And when I pick up an object that is of a certain age, it takes me right back to where I was, probably when it was something that was present most of my life. And the hardest thing for me to do is to make a decision to destroy what I have right now in a very positive way. The word destroy isn't to replace, but is to start over cleanly and freshly, like with a blank page, and figure out who knows how many more days I've got here. So I don't know if people listening are having feelings like that every once in a while, or are embracing those kinds of feelings as a result of loss, or um, it seems to me also that each of you, each of the authors that have written chapters in this book, independently came to a decision on your own that it was time for your life to start looking different from what it had been looking like. And I'm curious, Taryn, was there an event that kind of brought you to this? Was it a happenstance of being on a podcast call with somebody, or in a group discussion or something? How did it go?
I think I mentioned it in one of our previous interviews, but really the life changing point that happened for me was when I lost my father. Losing my father was the biggest reminder, just as you mentioned, that tomorrow is not guaranteed. I mentioned that my dad and my mom and we were the three musketeers. I always believed that as long as I had them,
Yeah.
nothing else mattered. People can come and go as long as I had them. And when my dad passed, that was the biggest shock of my life. I was like, okay. It was like something broke in me. Something was like, maybe this is the destroying part that you mentioned. Something broke in me because prior to that, I was very shy, very quiet. I was afraid of judgment and taking chances. And when my father passed away, that completely changed for me because I was like, life is so short. Him and we had plans. I was talking about things that I wanted to do. And I was like, literally, I'm not going to waste my time caring about what people think. Although it took one or two events afterwards. I'm not going to share everything because you're going to have to buy the book to read that in the book. But that was the major change for me. It was like that destroying that you mentioned. That was when I was like, my father lived and worked hard for our family, and I'm going to fulfill what I promised, that we spoke about, the dreams, and it's a lot of what I'm already pursuing and doing now. But it took that major loss in my life for me to, which me to finally allow myself to be the person I was meant to become. So the steps started from then, but it hasn't been easy. And there's been other events afterwards that helped me to grow and learn. But that was the first major turnaround.
Very clear. Thank you. Jan, I don't even want to guess. We've had so many conversations about turning points in your life over the years. But I think in terms of the choosing to simplify and strip things down a little bit, where would you point to as being, kind of like the watershed, or the the pivotal period in your life when you've pretty much decided, that's the direction I want to go.
I think for me, it was my divorce.
Yep.
That was um my pivotal moment, but I don't know that it was really a choice. I think that like it wasn't a choice in that like, oh my gosh, I have this dream. I'm going to pursue it because this happened and now I have to move on. It was much more I have no idea where I'm going. And um I was, completely disintegrated or destroyed and I had to rebuild. And all of a sudden, I think that I became very clear to me that that which was my foundation before was really not a foundation. And so then it was identifying and figuring out what it was that I wanted to build from, what was
Sure.
important, what I valued. Um, so that's where I was much more almost like a necessity at that point. And not that I did it quickly necessarily, and I didn't do it necessarily easily and gracefully. I mean, it was messy,
Interesting. Do I have
but
your can I have your permission to read something that you wrote in the book, which is very touching to me, and I think would also be very appropriate at this point?
Yeah, go for it, please.
Jan,
oh, sure.
Yeah,
I love
go
I
for
love
it.
this. I do want to share it with everybody. It's from Jan's chapter, Coming Home to Me, Soul Family. You may be blessed with a family of blood that shares your DNA. You may be blessed with a soul family, people who are not blood, but are family of the heart. These people enter your life not by accident, but by divine timing. These souls sent to you like angels who float on the winds of change and transformation, yours and theirs. There are some you may meet just once, and others that will forever be tied to your spirit. Your souls will merge, and together you will create an elaborately embroidered cloak that you both wear. Together, you will change the world. By Jan Jeremias. Absolutely love that.
Thank you.
That's a
Yeah,
powerful message to live into. And I think it actually, I think it prefers on all of those people around you just a whole lot of powerful statement into who you are and who they are in the world together. So, in what you were talking about, where the change came for you in your lifetime, I think that this is one of the most elegant ways of telling folks why it's worth your time and effort to love. Who knows how big it can get and who knows how much it can return on investment, right?
Hmm.
and
I mean,
if I can add on that, sorry, Jen, I just want to add on that is that Jen is probably one of the kindest people I know. She has the biggest heart. If Jen doesn't hear from me, I know I'm going to get a message and be like, "Hi, I haven't heard from you. What's going on?" That is how much she cares and how much she loves. So
Yes.
while you were reading that, I just had Jen's voice in my head, not because I've already had the privilege of reading it and knowing her, but it is so true, and that's also one of the essences of that you are getting in the book, is that everybody you are getting their true authentic self. Jan is so kind and so loving. She does everything with love. So I just wanted to add on top of that.
thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you both. I think that years ago, I had a part of the poem and that kind of philosophy was that years ago, I read something, and I think it was Mother Teresa, but it was really talking about her. And she said that the problem is we draw the lines of our family too narrowly. Like we sort of build these walls around, if you talk about belonging or fitting in, like we build these walls around ourselves of like, I belong here, or I belong there, and that person is other. and this person is me. And she said, the problem is we draw the boundaries of our family like, too strong. And really those boundaries should be much more malleable and flexible and porous, and really the boundaries of our family should extend to everybody. And I think that when I wrote that poem, I had that in mind. It was kind of like this feeling of like, I've had people, both of you, and then others who have changed, whether they realized it or not, have changed my life forever. And some people came in temporarily, and some people came in lessons. Like they weren't necessarily, oh my gosh, I love this person. Maybe it was the opposite, but they still influenced me in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of beauty in honoring other people, through your kind words. And the interesting part of, I hope that some people that are listening to this today are inspired to do some things you've not done for a while, or maybe not done before. But give it a shot. Give yourself an opportunity to express things a little bit differently. Do you know Joni Mitchell's story by any chance? Joni had polio when she was diagnosed with polio when she was 4 years old, and she actually couldn't walk without braces until she was 9, and she had extreme weakness in her hand. But during this period of time, between 4 and 9, she became really quite a great artist and was really, really good at painting watercolors, acrylics, that sort of thing. And so one day at school, her art teacher said, "You should try, you should try writing." And she said, "Well, I seem to be pretty good at painting pictures, and representing my ideas on paper." She said, "All writing is painting without a brush."
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow, that's
give it a
powerful. I'm not going to forget that.
Yeah, you can look it up. I'm really not doing it justice, but it's what drove her for the rest of her life and drove her to creating something not that was perfect, but what was a perfect representation of what she was feeling on the inside. And when you stop and you think and you listen to every word in every song that Joni's ever written, its place, its cadence, its onomatopoeia, all of that is so important to her that she's communicating not words, not ideas, but feelings. And she had me at hello, I'll tell you that, and one of my wife's favorite artists throughout all of the years too. But yep, painting words are painting without a brush.
Taryn's writing is very much like that, though. I mean, it's very poetic and lyrical in her message, and I think she has the ability to do that in her chapter. I think it's quite clear that she really does have this gift of being able to, and and not necessarily a lot of words. So that's to me like really unique because sometimes when people after you feel like choice of words and like you said, Bill, cadence and things like play a part because all of a
Yes,
sudden it doesn't mean that you have, you know, if there's 3 words to say something, then there's 3 words and you don't need 10,
right.
and I love that. And it also, I think of it almost, the process, and I think we all found this, um, was this process for us in the book of refining. It was kind of like, how can I say this better? And what would be, those kind of artful words or describe this perfectly, without saying too much, just saying enough. So the person almost had to use their own feelings to kind of like they had to tap into themselves to get more out of what they were reading.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I love about the support that we had is that we were there to support each other. We were there to say, what if you tried this angle or this angle? We could openly say, well, please let me know, what do you think? We had that support because we've grown to, I call us a family. We're a family to me. We're a family. And like Jen has come to know me quite well, and so like I wrote those words down now. But we've built such that beautiful trust and openness that we could say, please let me know, what do you see that I don't see, or how do you think I could, say this better? And we had that trust, and that what helped us refine it to the way we had it in our minds, but it wasn't coming through across on paper, and it was just such a beautiful process.
I love it. You had some poetry in your chapter as well, Taryn.
Mhm.
Yes, my first published poem. I'm like so excited about it. Yes, my first published
Do you
poem.
have do you have wings and resilience in front of you by any chance?
I do. Let me
I would
see.
invite you to
I
share that with people. It absolutely
thank
demonstrates what Jan is saying.
thank you so much. So I have a copy. I keep a copy of the book on my desk because it's just so surreal. But thank you for this honor. This will be the first time I'm sharing this publicly outside of the book. So, Wings of Resilience. I saw a butterfly in different shades of blue, sitting on a flower, proud of all it had been through. Once wrapped in a cocoon of trials and despair, now it soars freely, light as the air. Oh, how I long to be that butterfly, clothed in beautiful hues that grace the sky. Yet here I remain in the cocoon of my trials, growing, learning, walking these miles. Though the journey feels long, the darkness so tight, I hold on to hope, a flicker of light. For just like the butterfly, I too will transform, becoming stronger, my spirit reborn. One day I'll spread my wings and take flight, leaving behind the cocoon and the night. And like the butterfly in radiant hues, I'll stand proud, unbroken and renewed.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. It's my
I,
first piece of poetry.
I like it, and I do think that it would be a very, very strong message in a acoustic guitar song too. The power in the words is quite remarkable and quite accessible to everyone. There's no concepts there that you have to train anybody to understand what you're saying. This is a kind of a shared experience for all of us, isn't it? In some ways.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I use the cocoon and the butterfly as a metaphor because we all, when you're in the cocoon, it's messy. The becoming the cocoon is a very messy process. It's
Mhm.
messy, and then when you've been through all that you've faced and the challenges and you've overcame, you're going to be this beautiful butterfly, strong, authentic, in his or her brilliance. And so yeah, it was that poem is very dear to my heart. Thank you for allowing me to share here.
I made an invitation. You generously read us in your own words, and I absolutely loved it. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about that production process. So when did you all get together and decide you were going to produce this family work in common, and how did it take shape, and how long did it take to write?
Sure.
Any or
So
none of those?
I think we actually started discussing the idea October, November last year, Jen. I think it was around October, November. And we just decided we were discussing like what simply means to us, what simplicity means to us. And we realized that we have so many wonderful stories to tell. And we were like, well, why don't we write a book? And first the seed was planted, but yeah, the seed was planted. And then we kept on swinging back to it. And then we were like, you know what, we're doing this. So we decided, let's start writing the content first. Let's write our stories. And that's how it began and came together. And I think, we launched the Amazon Kindle edition. We launched that in June, and now in August. No, now in 2 weeks now we have the paperback edition. So you're looking at about 10 months, Jen. Yeah, about 9-10 months.
Yeah, but I think the unique thing is that we came together first. Like we didn't come together and write the book. We came
Mm-mm.
together first, and then the book kind of birthed out of our family, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I think that we had this shared outlook, belief, philosophy that we all found each other. And when I say like in my poem, like almost like by divine timing, it was kind of like the right people gathered and and we lost a few people along the way who kind of didn't, just didn't resonate, but we found a really cohesive and really close knit group. And then we were like, oh, hey, what do we do with this? But we found each other before we wrote the book.
Yeah.
Interesting. So here we are. And any plans for a follow-on?
Yes.
Almost like you've done this before, isn't it?
Well, we were just going to leave it there, but yeah, I all I can say is just watch our space, watch our LinkedIn page, keep an eye on our pages if you're following us on social media or in our circles, because there's more to come. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anymore. This was just the beginning. Simply Becoming is just the beginning.
Interesting. So will you continue to write it as a series of essays? As most of these read as the diversity of the writing style and the tone of voice is refreshing. I think it's one of the things that I like the most about it. I actually liked it about the book that we worked together on, Jan, the Faces of Grief. It was quite different in a lot of different ways because it was, in my opinion, it was sharing thoughtfully, but not sharing in a jarring way, if you will. The difference in this book. This book was not about getting somebody to buy into the fact that you started out tough, that life was almost undoable for you. Although, some of the stuff could be read that way. And there's also a bit of underlying joy in every I call them essays. They're just starting off with a premise of sharing and making the points, and also accenting with appropriate poems and other little bits of reason and some jokes. To tell the truth, there's some opportunities to laugh at different parts in reading this. So I'm more or less trying to just can't wait for the next one to come out, in other words.
Thank you. Yeah, it is exciting. And I think that I mean part of what, I think part of what I and Taryn touched on this earlier was this feeling of we each wrote how we wrote. And it wasn't like we got together afterwards and said, well, so and so wrote this way, I've got to change my style, or should we come in and have somebody who's like an editor somehow make it more similar, and so that it has like one voice. But in our authenticity, it is one voice.
Yes. And there's room for more. And there's room for less, which is really an amazing part of it. If you added another author and took an author away, writing in the same style of their own voice, I think it would still be a very cohesive and really, really, I don't know. It's like we have a thing in the United States that's called goulash. Some people call it stew. But the point is, Taryn, the more you cook it, the more times that you reheat it, the better it tastes, So now all of you have this as an informed starting point. And I can't even wait to see, what the next question will be. What will you postulate? How will you decide what the background theme will be that you all get to express in your own unique way?
Yeah.
We will be standing by for news.
Absolutely.
So we're getting close to the top of the hour. I'd like to give both of you ladies an opportunity for a few minutes. Anything that you think that we may have left out that's really valuable that you want to give to folks that are listening in?
I just think from my end is that these stories are written with heart, and there is something that you can take away and relate to these books. They're written authentically, and just with so much love. And this book came together with so much love, and I cannot wait for people to read it. There's different topics like we've mentioned today, and that has been mentioned in other interviews. Someone can relate somewhere where they are in life to this book, and it's just a proud, beautiful, beautiful gift to the world that we have been able to give. And I'm just very excited to be able to share this, and I know Janice too. It's just a beautiful privilege and gift.
Wonderful.
I guess I would just, maybe the last thing is to invite people, like as they, because they will be able to identify with some of those stories, to start to examine those stories within themselves as an invitation to start to look at their experiences and the things that have happened in their lives and reflect on how they have shaped them, either negatively or positively, because we all get affected in some way by experiences that we have, and to start to kind of look at their life maybe with a little bit more reflection and a little bit more curiosity, to bring in Mohiba's rude.
Here we go. Her favorite word.
Curiosity.
Yeah, curious mind is the key to all doors. No doubt about it. Well, I want to thank both of you. It's been a pleasure to spend time with you. Talking about any subject would be fun, but something that you put so much energy and love and work into. It's nice to have a moment of celebration with the two of you. Congratulations on a work of art that actually works.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to both of you for just sharing this platform so that I could come again and just have a wonderful conversation with you both. It's always so special being able to do this. So thank you so much for this platform.
You're very welcome. For one end, both of us, I will answer on Jan's behalf as well.
Absolutely.
We both have been very excited seeing your name on the list of folks that we get to hang out with again for a few minutes.
Yay.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess at this point, I'll just remind everybody who we are. We are Lighting the Candle, a world that works. And we do this most weeks, unless the world gets in the way. Sometimes it does. But also, there's a thing that we do every week, and I want to leave you with a thought. There are people in your life right now that really make a difference to you. Would you contact them, reach out some way, let them know that they're very valuable and that your world works because they're in it? And if they ever need you, all they need to do is call. I think with that said, bye for now, y'all.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
You've been listening to Lighting the Candle, a world that works, part of the Ex-Vadio podcast network. You can catch every episode of Lighting the Candle, as well as the rest of the network, at exvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.